Welcome to why Gran Turismo 7 is great for the franchise. I know I've complained about GT7 a whole heck of a heap, but today I'm kind of looked at the bigger picture and realized that GT7 makes every other game in the Gran Turismo series look downright amazing. There's never been a day in which I thought a game would come out to make games even like GT Sport and GT6 look nearly flawless. And Gran Turismo 7 has done exactly that. Gran Turismo 7 has had a whole heck of a heap of changes throughout its lifetime. And looking at all that combined, I can see now that I never appreciated the previous games as much as they deserve. Gran Turismo 7 has already gone through at least 3 different physics updates in the time it's been out in barely over a year. The biggest complaint about Gran Turismo 4 was that its physics were understeery. Well, looking back at it, Gran Turismo 4's physics may have been a bit understeery, but they were Gran Turismo 4's physics. They definitely didn't change, folks. They definitely didn't change. Plus, in Gran Turismo 4, you could tune your car for so many different events, and that was allowed for the majority of things they did. In Gran Turismo 7, there's so much balance of power and just racing a stock vehicle that there's barely any need for tuning in a game whatsoever, and the tuning that is there is made in a way in which it cannot be done realistically in order to compete. That's another thing of the real driving simulator. Gran Turismo 7 made me realize how realistic some of the previous games could actually be. In GT7, the best way to tune a car is to have absolutely no downforce in the front of it, and the maximum allowable downforce in the rear of it. In previous games, it helped to actually tune your car in a realistic way. So that makes it to where I can even appreciate the realism of Gran Turismo 1 more. Gran Turismo 1, the games in which the cars would almost flip sometimes when they turn, but they couldn't flip at all because the physics didn't allow it. Well, at least in that game, you could tune your car in a realistic way, and it made it faster than it was stock. So that's the way that works with Gran Turismo 7. In Gran Turismo 7, if you want to be competitive in performance point races, think about as unrealistic as possible and go from there. Those two are combined, though, the changes in the physics system and tuning, because there's been about equal changes to tuning as there was physics system. When Gran Turismo 7 came out, there was a different performance point system, which obviously changed how people tune, than there is now. So Gran Turismo 7 makes me appreciate the Gran Turismo 5 and 6 performance point system so much better too. Of course, yes, GT5 and 6 had their meta cars, mostly the same cars in the Chaparral 2J for higher performance point events, and the Suzuki GSX-R/4, or Gixxer, for more lower performance point events. But now I realize that it's better for there to be a standard meta car, which everyone knows about, that can be tuned in a realistic way, than have it change seemingly willy-nilly for random increments of time. So, yeah, I miss the good old days of Gran Turismo 5 and 6 performance point system, and it made me really appreciate those way more than I already did. Plus, in those games, the Dodge Ram was fairly overpowered. I hope we get a Dodge Ram. Anyway, continuing on, another thing that makes me appreciate the Gran Turismo franchise a lot more now that GT7 is out is the car list. Throughout about any Gran Turismo, there could always be complaints of what cars there were and weren't there, even of what's considered to be the best Gran Turismos in the franchise in GT3. In GT4, they couldn't get the license to Porsche because EA is evil. Even back then, when everyone praised EA, they were still pretty evil. And they didn't get Ferrari and Lamborghini because... And we still don't have Koenigsegg because... I'll edit that in post. This proves it's an April Fool's Day. I edit something in post. Keeping that in, because... Yeah. Anyway, so, There were so many cars when each game launched, though, that were actually new to the franchise and just new coming out. In Gran Turismo 4, which came out in late 2004 for the first iteration of it, there's even a car in it from 2006. There were many new cars for that game. And again, that was games that were missing Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche, things of that nature. Well, now, in terms of new cars, I mean, we're getting some stuff from the late 2010s now. We got that van. Bravo. And we did get the new DTM car. Cool. But in the previous games, there were a whole heck of a heap of new cars that launched at release because the games couldn't be updated. Even when pretty much any game in the Gran Turismo franchise, there are plenty of complaints and debates about what cars should be there. I don't think any of them deserve complaints compared to what we have now. Gran Turismo 7 launched with 2023 Nissan Z. What else for newer cars? I think we did get the relatively new Yaris, but that was actually added in GT Sport for free, so it's hard to really count that. Oh, how I missed the old days in which we got new cars when the game came out, and the games actually stayed out. Back in the really old days, they didn't get updated. So they had to have new cars. Nowadays, you can have a game be updated with the new cars, and sometimes the game isn't even updated with new cars. But that's the final thing I'll end with. Updates. Talked about the physics update, performance update, new cars, all that. Well, this game could be updated too. Of course, even since Gran Turismo 5 Prologue, games could be updated. But updates in all manners is something that I miss. Whether the old game's not having them at all, it was nice to just boot up Gran Turismo 4 and play it without worrying about having to download something with internet that's still extremely slow even now for me. And it was nice knowing what I'm playing is what I'll continue to play and what I did play. I don't have to worry about anything that could possibly make it worse. With Gran Turismo Sport and Gran Turismo 7, there's in the back of my mind worries that 10 years down the road we won't be able to play the games at all. And there's nothing that whatsoever officially reassures us otherwise. So yeah, that's in the back of my mind that Gran Turismo 4 will be replayable to the end of time, and Gran Turismo 7 might not be playable, not replayable, but playable at all in less than 10 years. Nothing whatsoever proven to say otherwise for that. And just updates in general, even the games that had updates, well, Gran Turismo 7 makes me realize I appreciate Gran Turismo even Sports updates way more than I realized. Gran Turismo Sport got updates well into the game. Granted, they said that we were supposed to get a whole heck of a heap more cars than we were gonna get, and we weren't even on pace to get those amount of cars by the time the game ended before COVID started, so Polyphony Digital lied on that one. But compared to how many lies in Gran Turismo 7, like the payouts of events, Kaz said it himself, that there would be more than a few events in which we could compete in order to get the best payouts. Kaz literally lied about that. Because all the updates in Gran Turismo 7 has done is make it even harder to compete in the few events in which do give good payouts. In which Kaz said that there wouldn't be only a few events that give good payouts, there would be very few. At the very least. Hopefully, a whole heck of a heap. But yes, Kaz lied about that. Was he told by Sony or Polyphony Digital to lie about it? Maybe, so it might not be his complete fault, but yes, that makes me appreciate even the Gran Turismo Sport updates way more. Gran Turismo Sport, the economy actually got gradually better as the game went on. The roulette system was still terrible, but Gran Turismo 7, not so much. There's pretty much no argument that can be made that Gran Turismo Sport, in some areas, definitely became a better game. Granted, I've said it before, in my opinion, GT Sport became a worse game in terms of how online went. At the beginning, I could gradually actually progress through online and get better in sport mode and things like that, but then sport mode went from 24 players for the maximum amount to 16 players for the maximum amount. They moved the driver rating up without enticing people to actually race in the daily races to be able to have their driver rating move up, so it made it to where there was really only a reason to race in the game a few times a week if you played online, and that made the game overall worse, in my opinion. No April Fool's there. Just overall, Gran Turismo Sports Best City Racing was the closed beta. Not a joke in the slightest, in my opinion. The best iteration was truly, really the closed beta. So, yeah, but there's no denying that Gran Turismo Sport got a whole heck of heap of cars, got a whole heck of heap of single player content, got even better with the economy. Gran Turismo 7 gradually less single player content compared to what we were getting before. Gradually less cars compared to what we were getting before on a month by month basis. Like this month we got more of it on a month by month basis now. I mean, obviously the economy's getting worse. Hopefully the Haggerty thing fixes that, but we'll see, folks. We'll see. And there's games that are leaving out too, saying updates in general. Gran Turismo 5 got even the performance point update. It didn't launch with performance points. And it got the amazing Spec 2.0 update that basically made it a completely new game. Gran Turismo 6 got a quick match update. It got a community update. It got a lot of Viz and Gran Turismo cars, and overall it made people still want to play the game when the servers ended. If Gran Turismo 6 still had servers today, despite how terrible the connectivity was to those servers, I would still be playing it. The only thing that Gran Turismo 7 makes me realize how terrible things were back then and not just appreciate stuff were the actual connection to servers. Not how online worked once you were connected, the time it took to actually connect to the servers, and how often you would connect to them. In Gran Turismo 6, being serious, a quick match race could start a minute, or be the countdown to start could be a solid minute before. So you try to enter and you still don't even make the race. That's the one thing, no joke whatsoever, that Gran Turismo 7 actually makes me realize was worse back then, is trying to connect to servers. Granted, Gran Turismo 7 is still making me appreciate the old games and how the servers actually worked once you were connected, but that should be expected. Online should get better over time. There's debates about the car list because cars take longer to render over time as graphics get better. Manufacturers get more stingy in terms of what cars they want to put out, and that some of them even still have deals to certain games and stuff like that. Of course, there's a debate with single-player content now because games care more about macrotransactions than they do about their fans. It's something that should just be an obvious progression over time is online connectivity and how well it works. Well, it's still even a debate to this day. Gran Turismo 7 could update to make that a lot better, but gradually, while there have been fixes, overall it still makes me appreciate how well the previous games worked in which you were in the rooms quite a lot too. I remember that I could play Gran Turismo 5 Prologue for hours on end and had plenty of fun and not get bored. It makes me even appreciate playing online in Gran Turismo 5 Prologue more. In Gran Turismo 5, I could just do dirty races, winner pick performance point. A lot of the times they were at Route X. Sometimes there'd be shuffle racing and stuff like that, and I could just do that for hours on end. And granted, I appreciated it at the time. I definitely appreciated it a lot more when the servers ended. But now I appreciate it more than anything and like doing Gran Turismo 5 spectating and stuff like that. Gran Turismo 5, I realize now more than ever, was the end of the peak of Gran Turismo. There's straightforward things to say that too, and just in terms of sales of the game. Gran Turismo 5 is the second best-selling Gran Turismo of all time. GT6 Armor didn't sell too well. There's debates that Forza by Gran Turismo 5 was roughly tied with Gran Turismo. After that was obviously ahead, with Forza being the main rival. Gran Turismo. But all in all, I think I appreciate Gran Turismo 5 in games around its era. Kind of GT4 to GT6, sort of. Because there were still things that could innovate. Gran Turismo 7 just tries to go with nostalgia, then acts like they're innovating with selfie AI and VR2. And the selfie AI is actually a Sony thing and not directly for Gran Turismo. And still, overall, it's AI. It should be another logical progression that every game on a new console should have better AI, theoretically. Console at the very least, preferably game by game. And then the PSVR 2 is exactly that, PlayStation VR 2. There's quite a few games that have it. So overall, even GT6 innovated more than Gran Turismo 7, and I realized that too. GT6 had innovation in terms of quick matches, innovation in terms of community features, innovation in terms of track path editor. Even in which a lot of people consider the worst Gran Turismo in GT6, I appreciate it a lot more now. I appreciate GT Sport actually having updates that added things to the game. GT6, in terms of, even though overall it wasn't too innovative, there were plenty of innovative things nonetheless. GT5, in terms of being in the peak of Gran Turismo and having tons of fun online. And then pretty much everyone appreciates GT1 through 4. There's really no debate there. So overall, Gran Turismo 7 could not be worth more of a yeehaw than I could possibly give, because it made me appreciate the franchise past more than ever. So, with that, yeehaw!